more layers. In my opinion, layer one starts with awareness at the basic level, which is whether you are school, college, every place else. But now let's look at the intervention level. Family physicians need to be empowered, uh, given all the help that we can. All primary health centers, every place that we can, need to be empowered with giving basic mental health support. Then you will need to add a technology level, like it or not. For all those who want to debate about whether it is going to be good or bad, you don't have a choice. So you make it good enough. It may not be what you want now, but you are not in a position to say we don't want to try it, we don't want to use it. You have got your math horribly wrong if that's the idea. So you have a layer. That layer should consistently be doing awareness, should be able to filter and screen, give basic guidance, and should be able to be tell people where to go to. You add this layer so that those who need help get it immediately, those who can be self-helped can be helped, and so on and so forth. Then comes the layers of the experts. Until you have these layers, which is the family physician and equivalent layer, then the AI and the digital layer, and then the clinician layer, that's how you triple the resources you have to fight the actual epidemic of mental health that is there, right? That's a fact. So that needs to be our approach. There is no other way to look at it. Like I said, you can have all the intellectual debates that you want about what are the goods and what are the bads. Use it and make it better. That's the only way to look at AI. AI is here. It should be here. And it is going to be the solution for a lot of healthcare aspects. I can't speak for other branches, but for mental health, AI is probably going to be one of the pillars around which we'll be able to serve millions and millions of people because we don't have the experts.
Um, that's good to know, because I often say that it's not the first time we're having this debate whether technology will be able to solve the problem, right? I mean, fire could be used in the same way. Fire could be used to cook food, and fire can also be used to, uh, who knows, burn something, right? So I mean, it's the same thing. And how do we use and utilize is where really the proof of the pudding lies. So we're also going to be opening up for questions, and if anybody has question in the audience, please feel free to type on the chat, and I will be able to pick it up. So we have two very, very renowned people dealing with mental health, so feel free to ask questions. In the meantime, I'll continue till we get any questions, because I still have a lot of questions, as we uh, for the audience here. And Dr. Parekh, you were talking about how to spot, right, some of these symptoms as you go forward, right, and with the kind of work pressures we go through today, right? And you very nicely mentioned that, hey, I don't have a laptop, but there are many, many, many people out there who are actually constantly wired. What is this kind of work environment doing to our brains and mental health? And how do we, or what would be your advice to people for their own mental health? What should be the kind of lifestyle they should be looking at taking? Because stress also has a lot of issues on your overall mental health over a long period of time, right? So I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So yeah, so I don't have a laptop as a fact, but that's also an action that I consciously take, knowing my own personality and approach to life. I know if I would have had a laptop, I would probably struggle to have a meal without it. I would probably struggle to be able to listen to music or commute from one place to other without it. I know it as a fact. So I do have a desktop. I have desktops wherever, both in my clinical space and in my personal space. What it does is it makes me go to a place and do it rather than going back and carrying it all around. So that's one part. We'll all need to know our personalities and work around it. Is there pressure? Yes. Is the pressure a lot? Yes, it is. Um, can it be managed? Yes, it can be. It will have two parts to it. Some things you and I can control, some things we can't control. Um, what you can't control, you accept. And what you can control, you work towards the maximum. And that's where your mindfulness also comes in. Um, you enjoy it. I was, in fact, the earlier talk that I was saying, organizations and HR and business heads and leaders and founders like you keep talking about engagement at work. You don't need to be engaged at work. Be engaged with life. If you're engaged with life, you will automatically be engaged at work. It is as simple as that. And you can't be engaged at work without being engaged with life. So just it's a nice world out there. For those who've not read about Papageno, the Magic Flute by Mozart, read. I mean, the word is it's nice, provided you see it. And it's not nice. I mean, so you'll have to put all these indoor plants like they put behind me. I mean, there's such a lovely green out there, but I've been asked to do this webinar. But the good thing is there's just 13 odd minutes left, and then my phone is switched off.
So, Dr. Simon, we're getting a lot of questions here as well. So I'll
Yep.
stay, and there's a lot of these questions actually are very similar to the conversation that we're having. So let me pick up, and I'll kind of include a few because there is series of questions that our viewers are actually asking us. So one
Sure.
is that we live in this, and again, staying on the topic of stress, right? When there's stress all around us, how do we make sure that we remain stress free, right? So would you like to say anything about that?
Sure. Well, first of all, I don't quite know, but I seem to have lost my picture. So I'm looking at a blank screen right now. So you'll
We
just
can
have to
see
read.
you and hear you, Dr. Simon. So
Okay, sorry about that, but I've got some sort of failure which happens sometimes. So the question was, what can we do to mitigate stress? Is that the question again?
yes, so
Okay.
in a environment where everything around us is so stressful, whether it's work, home, how do we actually keep our mental health, in check? So that's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. And I think that this is the critical question of our age, isn't it? I mean, we are constantly multitasking, as Dr. Parrott pointed out, and it's tiring, it's exhausting. We need to focus on one thing at a time, as he said. I agree, and I do think that we need to think about what matters to us. What are the important things? Is it important that we watch, a YouTube video whilst we eat, or is it important that we work whilst we're constantly working all the time, it seems? So, I mean, I think we need to start prioritizing what matters, and that's things like family. These are things like exercise. These are things like time to think about the world we live in and our environment and whether we care about our environment. It's very interesting, actually. One of the things, the priorities that I'm working on here in Singapore is with the National Parks Association, and they're really cooperating here with psychologists and psychiatrists to educate children about the value of just going for a walk in the natural environment, enjoying the looking at things and taking an interest in the little things that are around us, instead of being constantly absorbed in something that's not really probably as important as that. So all of these things are part of, I think, good mental health. They reduce stress. We know for a fact that natural environments do reduce stress. We know that contact with other people reduces stress. Isolation increases it. So we want to be able to make sure that our world is surrounded by people, relationships that matter, and our environment. So there are a few just random thoughts that come to mind, but all of these things, are important.
Thanks, Dr. Simon. I am telling you, we're getting series of questions from all across the world. One of the questions actually is how can we start meaningful conversations about mental health to help reduce stigma within our community? Any one of you can pick it up. Maybe Dr. Simon, if you can start off, and then I'll go to Dr. Parik, because there are some questions that are also directly, asked with him as well. So would love to hear your thoughts, and I'll jump to Dr. Parik here.
Okay. So serious questions about. So I missed there's a bit of a gap there.
That how do we start meaningful conversations around mental health to help
Yeah.
reduce stigma within the community?
Yeah. I mean, that's stigma is a problem. It varying problem in different countries. I think the younger generations now are less affected by stigma than the ones before that. But I think that's an important question where we need to Firstly, admit that everybody's human. That if you look at the numbers of people that have mental health problems in their life, it's about a third of every society at some point has a mental health problem. And if you look at it's actually higher than that, but I'm talking about serious mental health problems here. If you look at countries like the more industrialized countries, then mental health is absolutely critical. And so it's really the role of governments, I think, to start funding conversations about mental health. I think it's important that they give the resources to the people who want to talk about mental health. It doesn't have to be necessarily doctors and psychologists, psychiatrists who talk about it. It can be advocates. It's people with lived experience who know what it's like to have a mental illness or injury and want to talk about it and start to sort of deliver these sort of conversations to the wider populace. And then the more people talk about it, the better things get. Because I've seen this in Australia. Sorry, I won't go on, but I've seen this in Australia work very, very well. It took a few high-profile people, politicians, sports people, to actually start talking about mental illness before it became a common topic of conversation. So, this is where the thought leaders, the influencers, the people who have power have a responsibility, and I think they're the ones who can trigger these conversations in different societies.
Dr. Parekh, I know you're very passionate about this topic, so I can't move on to the next question without having your thoughts around it.
Yes, we all have to just keep talking. There is no other way around it. The next time you post something on social, remember 1 in 7 people will be suffering from a mental illness. So how about 1 in 7 posts are on mental health? The next time you are talking about someone or talking to someone, and if they're talking about something related to their mental health concern, bring out your empathy, throw out the judgmentalism, talk to them with acceptance. Organizations, families, individuals. Yes, to what Dr. Salmon said in terms of role models speaking about it, I think it's very, very, very important. And but they need to do that consistently. And they also need, I mean, we all need to talk about it, not merely from what worked for me or what is a self-help thing. We need to be a bit more deeper about it, because illness and its impact on lives is very significant. And the stigma is in the intervention aspect. Even though acceptance of mental health as an important aspect of our life is increasing, but early intervention steps have not really taken that kind of a leap that we would have wanted to. That's why it's reinforced still not taken. So you may still have a concern around going to a therapist, taking meds, a diagnosis. There continue to be those concerns. There is no substitute to dialogue. Let's keep talking about it. Right people should keep sharing the right information so that incorrect information and idiots don't get the better of science.
Dr. Parekh, there is one question that has come in, and it's, I think, from a teenager, and I'm directing it to you. So, in today's materialistic world, students are always running behind achievements, certifications, courses, other than academics, and constantly involved in something or other. We are always expected to be productive, but at the same time, we as teenagers are also inclined with tech, so we don't miss out on anything. So there is constant pressure to perform on academics, etc. What are we supposed to do?
See, I have a very different take on some of these needs of achievements and certification. A lot of them are embarrassing, right? You go on some of these platforms and where people are overwhelmed by a award they got and overwhelmed by a certificate they got and humbled by an achievement that they had. And, you don't share things on public platform and use words like overwhelmed, humility, because it's exactly the opposite of it. You do a course because it has a meaning for you. It gives you a skill set, not because it's a ticking the box, not because it needs to be so shown on. Life is a lot beyond that. And but yes, you work hard for your education. But if you want to believe that working hard for education means about 18, 19 hours of studies, then you're badly mistaken. As a medical practitioner who studied and got through, pre-medical test as NEET used to be at that time, and through the MBBS, the old school MBBS, which was a lot tougher, right? And other aspects. But I'll tell you what, My bio teacher in 12th would never ask me whether I've studied bio or not, would ask me only two questions. Are you playing your guitar? Are you playing your cricket? That's about it. Right. And throughout my life, I kept on having some teacher or some mentor or the other who would keep encouraging that as a default, I know you'll be doing that, but don't stop doing this. That's the answer. Yes, you work hard. There is no substitute to working hard consistently. But working hard does not mean you burn yourself out. That's not life. So if you are a marathon runner, you just don't run a marathon every week. Your body needs to recuperate, and you know how many months you need before a next marathon you can run. That's life. Similarly, another athlete example, you're playing tennis, you will have bad points and good points. But you don't play for 2 hour match is where you think that everything was tested. Let's be honest. All these the noise around you is just orchestrated stupidity by adults like us. Adults can be very unsmart when it comes to dealing with young people. We ask you to do exactly what we did not do, and then that's not just stupidity but hypocrisy. So focus in a way that you just don't stop enjoying, but yes, you work hard and enjoy and do both.
Dr. Simon, I'm coming to you. Maybe we have a minute here to get your views. This is an important question.
Yeah, it is an important question, and I agree with Dr. Parekh again because I mean I just give you the more objective point of view from the OECD, showing that we have countries like Singapore and India where there's huge pressure to study long hours for students, and yet you see better results in Finland where students are working far less hours, but the teachers don't demand examinations as much, and there is a more thoughtful approach to the way things are done. And now, obviously, that's difficult for the student who's asked the question. You can't do anything about which country you're in, but by the same token, I think Dr. Parekh's point is absolutely true, which is that you can't give up on life because study comes as an important priority. There are other important priorities. And I think that's having dealt with students who are in real distress because they feel they're not keeping up. I feel that's the message they need to hear, that there's more to life than study.
Well, this was a really enriching discussion, and I'm certain our viewers found value in this. Thank you, Dr. Parekh, and thank you, Dr. Collinson, for your insights on mental health in the digital age. As we continue to navigate the digital landscape, it's essential to prioritize our mental health and take proactive steps to protect ourselves from potential negative impacts of technology. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. There are numerous resources and support available to help you maintain your mental health and well being in the digital age. So, thank you, everybody, for joining us in this discussion, and have a good evening, everyone. Thank you. See you.
Thank you.